Let's look at this worker who works on this contract. I've used simple figures because some people didn't like mathematics in class. Okay? So I've used the simple figures, not millions, but what? Thousands. Okay? So look at this worker. He's paid a monthly salary of 300,000. He's supposed to work 30 days a month. Now, this is of course not real, but 30 days a month, it means daily pay is what? If he has to work 10 hours a day, how much do that be per hour? Okay, so this is the contract. Now, this contract, every day counts on that contract. If on Monday you come 2 hours late, what has happened? How much have you stolen? Do you remember what he said? Let nobody steal. Stop what? Do what? Now, do you remember Ephesians chapter 4? What did it say? Stop. In other, don't first talk to people about getting money until you've told them to stop stealing. You start by stop stealing, then work, then give. We have people who preach about prosperity without doing what Paul did. Paul first told people to stop stealing, then work, then what? Give. Hey. Now listen to this. 2 hours you came late. How much have you stolen? You leave 1 hour early. How much have you stolen? You waste 2 hours in idle talk. Now you take 2 hours. How much have you stolen? If you add this, how much is the total? If you do that every day for 30 days, how much have you stolen? Tell your neighbor, nkulaba oka akati nkulaba. Okay. Now, so, human resource is not aware of all that. It does not have a machine which calculates how much has been stolen. So therefore, for them, on the 20 which is the date when your salary gets onto your account? 20 something there. Yeah? 30th. 28th. 28th there, from 28th there. Yeah? When it comes, okay. Now, your boss will still pay you the contract you signed, but you actually only worked for what? Because the other 150 you did what? You cheated. Half is what you have a title for. The only title you have is 150. The other 150 you don't have a what? What happens if you buy land and you have no title? Normally what happens? Yeah? They take it. You can't lay claim on your what? On your land because you have no title. In the spirit realm, that title is so real. Because the devil is roaming around looking for things to steal, he will find the land which is empty and steal. And you find money which has been what? Stolen. In your what? In your account. Remember, Satan is the sole manufacturer and distributor of sin. Sin, stealing are his goods. So when he finds money on the account which is stolen, he says, this one. You cannot shout at him. You may shout. But you say, no, this one is mine. Because you never worked for that money. Because you stole it, you have no title, you cannot keep it. Doesn't matter what you do. So what happens? When you take money you have not worked for, you accumulate debt on your account. A negative collusion. Because you have no ownership, you have no title, you cannot keep that money. As you leave the office on the 29th, the day when the money gets on the account, as you leave the office, border, there you are rushed into Entebbe hospital. They say, he almost, you got a major fracture. As soon as the money you stole is finished, the leg is fine. Or you get home and your baby is very seriously what? Think with the temperature. You run here, say, hey, you can't manage this. Oh, you can't manage this. Take this to case clinic. As soon as the money you stole is finished, the baby is alive and kicking. That's it. So people who steal big, so for you, I can tell that for you, you can't steal very big. You don't have maybe access to stealing big money. Yeah? Do you? You don't. So, but I'm now referring to those other people who steal what? Big. When you steal big, they say, that case here in Mlago you cannot handle. You have to go to what? Aga Khan. Or India. Hey. Because you steal big, you spend big. The stealing is what? Big. And the complication will be so complicated until all the money is drawn from the bank, from all your resources. You even borrow money to buy the dollars you need so that it catches up with all the stealing you did. That's it. So they say, this one, we can't manage. This one, you have to go to Germany. You know that one may have stolen it in Deutschmark, so that... so you get your mother-in-law visits on the 29th or 30th, and she gets sick in your house. In Uganda, you have a saying, when the mother-in-law is around, you do your best. Kumbe, you are paying all the money you had what? Stolen. Yeah. Some people sometimes even die, and now you have to collect a lot of money, plus these funeral services. As soon as the money you stole is finished, everything is what? Because the other one is yours, you have a title. But the one you don't have a title, there will be 101 reasons why you have to spend it. So unnatural disasters follow you. The insurance refuses to pay you. There's so many other ways. You are always cheated. You buy land and you found you bought air. Your good savings, you buy a car and you have a problematic car. It is always in the garage at the end of the month. Anybody who has that car, don't put your hand up. So you are people wonder, why is he late? He's now in the garage. Okay. So chronic financial indebtedness, you are always paying interest on land, and sometimes you end up losing the collateral. You have no peace. You are never satisfied. You are not contented. That's why thieves have to keep what? Stealing. They can't have peace. Every time they see somebody they don't know with the suit and the tie and the file, they lose peace. Who is that? Oh, I thought they were auditors. They are not. Now they can't have peace. So you can't have peace. Okay. Okay. Now the next part, your stewardship. Let's read about this one. Okay. 3 contractors are bidding to fix a broken fence for a government building. One from Bangladesh, another from India, and the third from China. They go to the building with a government official to check the fence. Let's read together so that you see. The Bangladesh contract takes out a tape measure and does some measuring. Then works some figures. He says, I figure the job will cost you $900. $400 for materials, $400 for my team, $100 for my profit. The Chinese contractor also does some measuring and saying, I can do the job for $700, $300 for material, $300 for my team, $100 my profit. The Indian contractor does not measure, but leans over to the government official and whispers, $2,700. The official asks, you didn't even measure like the other guys. How did you come up with such a high figure? The Indian contractor whispers back, 100 for me, 1,000 for you. We hire the cheap Chinese to fix the fence. Done deal, replies the government. Have you heard of such? Now, what's wrong with this? What's wrong? Yes. Everything, every time you're put in a responsibility where you have to negotiate on our behalf, look at this. A public servant or employee is a steward of national resources. And so you are accountable for the decisions you what? You make. Every decision you make, you are representing the rest of what? Us. When you betray a trust, read it. When you betray a trust, you have allowed a negative collusion on your account, and it will catch up with you. Understand that? So that official there in the government fence, that is stealing as far as God is what? Concerned. Okay? So work is the only legitimate means of creating what? Wealth. A society which only wants to acquire without creating wealth runs into spiritual and later on economic what? That is how companies, institutions, empires, civilizations fall. Why are our majority of our banks failing in our country? People don't want to work. You understand that? We have started so many local banks, apart from Seldeb, Centenary, and now but most of our banks have been what? Failed because of this major issue. As long as I'm in this position, I have to use my position to get as much as what possible. I asked Karim. I used to hire Imperial Royal, and then he has a chain of hotels, and all of them had Kenyan managers that time. I don't know why it is the same now. It's still the same. So I asked him, why do you hire Kenyans when we have so many people who have studied hotel management and what? He said, where I put one Kenyan, I need 6 Ugandans. Have you heard of that? Yes. Where I put one Kenyan, you need 6 Ugandans to do the same work. Do you see the importance of proper work ethic in a nation, in a company? Because for him, he knows if I pay this guy very well, he will do what all these 6 people are doing. And many times they are cheating, they are not there, they are absent, they give excuses. Yeah? I'm sure all of you have noticed that in our hotels. Don't we have our children who have studied hotel management? So to transform a nation, transform a company, transform an economy, the work ethics is very, very, very important. Majority of the people are putting emphasis today on a minimum wage, but that does not solve the problem until we have solved this one. This is basic. You may give people a minimum wage, but if people are not working, you will not get what you want. And that this company, this organization will not grow. It will not excel. Because people are doing their bare minimum. But when you increase work ethics, improve work ethics, you have few people, they achieve so much. So what you do, you increase their salaries so they are happy, instead of having 20 people doing a work of 5 people. You are dividing the same little resources just because where you should have 1 person, you have to get 5 or 6. This is very, very, very important in transform, whether it is private or public. So when we change the work ethic, nations rise. What happened to Europe 500 years ago? The Reformation. Have you heard of the Reformation? Why is it called the Reformation? Because they started to teach these principles I'm explaining here. They started to teach the proper work ethic. They called it dignity of labor. Until then, the belief was those of us who were the clergy had a higher status, like first class. Then the rest of you are doing all this work, you are economy. In a Reformation, they said, no, there's no such a thing. All of us are working for what? For God, but in the different what? Sphere. Dignity of labor. They said every labor is important before God. A fisherman, a carpenter, somebody working with all of us at the same level. God looks at us at the same level. That was transformation. It totally changed Europe. Because people now understood that God is with me when I'm in the carpentry workshop, as is with me when I'm in church on Sunday. Do you see how the difference it would make? When you are in church, how do you behave? Ask your neighbor. Suppose somebody came and stepped on you by accident when you are in church. What happens? You touch him, say, oh, sorry, you stepped on me. Even the talking, you have stepped on me. So, but let him step on you on Kampala Road. How will you say? Bye! Yeah? Now, why do you behave differently? Because you think God is in what? He's not on Kampala Road or Chikubo. Now, what they achieved in Europe was to tell people the Lord is with you 24/7. While you are in church and while you're in your place of what? Work. Then they understood that when I'm sitting on my desk working, the Lord is with me. You think about that will change your work ethic, knowing that the Lord is with all the time. Can you be corrupt when the Lord is standing there and say, when the Lord is there? No, you won't do that. But because we think the Lord is with me in church, but he's not with me in the what? He rarely visits here. I find him there, but not here in what? According to what I see here, the Lord cannot dare come here. Now, that is the attitude. Now, what the reformers managed was to convince the society that the Lord was with them every day. The carpenter, the fisherman, the one working with skins, the one with... So they realize, oh, he's with me in the carpentry workshop. What will happen to the carpenter? He will do his what? His best. So the products will improve. Production will increase, and the quality will also what? Increase. Quantity and quality increased. That produced the agricultural revolution and the industrial revolution. Europe and us were at the same level until that reformation. Then the work ethics in Europe changed. The nations, to tell the difference of why this is so important, to tell the difference, the nations that embraced that teaching were very poor at that time. In fact, they were colonies of the others. When they embraced that teaching, they are now the very rich nations in Europe. The nations which did not embrace that teaching, although they were giants that time, now they are poor. Let me give you examples on both sides. Spain was very powerful. They had the Spanish Empire. Holland was a colony of Spain. You know that, Spain, eh? You heard of the Spanish Empire. They were all over, including Latin America, all over the world. But they never embraced the Reformation. In other words, they remained with the wrong, bad work ethic, which they also took to wherever they got their colonies. Wherever they went, they were poor. They produced poor nations. In their own nation, they became poorer and poorer. When do you ever hear about Spain other than the football? Real Madrid. Do you ever hear about Spain other than Real Madrid? Yeah? They are now poor nation. Greece, the same. Italy. Look at other nations. Holland was a colony of Spain. The Dutch had to fight 80 years to get freedom from the Spanish. Germany was just small groups. All the nations that embraced the Reformation, all the Scandinavians, Germany, Britain, they embraced it. They're the rich nations today. You see what work ethics can do to a society and a civilization? If we embrace this work ethic I'm talking about, we'll be the giants tomorrow. In the next 50 years, 100 years, our nation, our society will transform. If we don't get a proper work ethic, it doesn't matter how much loans we get, how much we do, we can't. Because it is work that produces wealth. A society that concentrates on getting rather than working cannot change, cannot improve. The Koreans, how many of you have been to Korea and Japan and China? You know how much these people are working. Have you seen them work in Korea, South Korea, Japan, China? The work ethic is so different. So nations, societies, communities, companies like you are, cannot succeed without the proper work ethic. This cuts across. How many members of our parliament are always in parliament? You know that, eh? They are not there all the time. The sessions that are full are when they are going to discuss their what? Yes. That one that nobody misses. Yeah? Have you ever noticed? Oh, everybody is there that day. They cancel everything else. The speaker is always complaining the house is not what? Full. Now we have because we have a big parliament, 529 members. That's why now it is a little bit what? But it used to be empty and they could never get quorum. But they have all signed. If you go back, you'll find all of the majority have signed that they were there. They sign and go. They sign and they're stealing. That's why when they finish their terms of office, they are totally broke. They have to fight so much to go back to parliament because you can't find any cheap money like that one. You can't get it anywhere. So they are running away from every profession to go into politics because there you get cheap money. Yes, I was talking to them the other day in what? In Serena. They said, you need to come back. We need to collect all of us. I thought that's why you are always in debt. You members of parliament are always in what? Because you keep stealing and stealing and stealing and stealing and stealing. And you're always in India being operated and... yeah. Once you're a bishop, they cannot answer back. Even then I'm saying to cabinet, they have to keep quiet because for us, we have opportunity. You only speak when I've allowed you to speak. So you have to endure me. Even now, you have to endure me until I finish. Okay? So, a society which only wants to acquire without creating wealth runs into what? Spiritual and later on economic bankruptcy. That's how companies, institutions, empires, and what? Fall. This is how our nation is going down. When corruption increases, because people want to get cheap money. Wealth that is gotten by vanity shall be diminished. But he that gathers by labor, by work, shall do what? Shall increase. Look at the faithful worker. I would not be doing service if I don't show who the faithful worker is. Okay? Look at the faithful worker. He gets the same contract, but he arrives 2 hours what? Early. So that's another 2,000. Another 1 hour to finish to clear his desk or her desk. Then there's some extra. During her time free, she makes sure that she's always up. So it's like she adds another extra time in her day to make sure the company work is what? Finished. 5,000 is added every day. And by the end of the month, 5,000 times 30 is 150. But still gets the same salary like the other lazy ones. Yeah? But he has title for 450. But he has only been given what? 300. So what does God do with the remaining 150? He'll put you on an account. How do you call that account? What do you SQ account? Eh? Aha. So that's the good term. Eh? He puts it on the escrow account, waiting for the time when you have a need of your children's bursary, or something comes up and you have nowhere to look. But you've been accumulating. Your account has been what? Every month there is money. So it will come back to you. It may not be a salary. This time, when you work faithfully, you accumulate credit on your account. You have ownership and title to that money, and it comes to you in many ways, directly or what? Indirect. Some unexpected inheritance. How do you like that one? Oh. Eh? I went to UK one time, visited a very old woman. She was called Diana Quick. I visited the church, but they told me you'll stay with this old woman. So she was 86 years then. She liked me so much in those few days I was there, and then come back. Now, when she was dying, she left a will and made a note of my name, and she left me an inheritance. Yeah? Can you imagine what's Kila Bazungu? So, in Uganda, we have a saying, Gweyawa denenu mezala. Have you heard of that? Now, when God looks for the ways to bless you, He can use Diana Quick Muzungu. Now, those people are so faithful. They looked for me. They got the contacts of the church, and then they started to look for me. I was so amazed at these countries. They are so honest. Looking for me and giving me my inheritance from this old woman. Yeah? So anybody wants to inherit from Muzungu? So make sure. So that inheritance, you will come, even if you come from a society or your family which has no land, they will still get what land. For me, our family had a lot of land. Our father was one of those who signed the Buganda Agreement in 1900. He was one of those chiefs. So we got a lot of land. But our father died when I was 1.5 years old. So we were scattered. I'm number 18 out of 21 children. So we were scattered and we grew up in abject poverty because the ones who were in charge squandered everything. Our aunties, 10 sisters of our fathers, inherited much of that land. They never had children. They were barren and they never married. So whenever they were about to die, they looked for the sons, the nephews and nieces. The children of their brothers. So one time when I had worked 7 years without good pay and I was in poverty, I was lack. I visited Mulago to see my aunt who was very, very sick. She had been in a coma the whole day. The moment I touched her bed like this in Mulago, she came back out of the coma. Yeah? She said, "What the hell? I almost died without seeing you." Took me by hand and said, "This family, all the family members were all there. My land in Chanja, my land in Mutundwe." She listed the land. Said, "All of it is yours. Do you have a daughter?" I said, "I don't have." "What are you doing?" Said, "I haven't married." She said, "Nevertheless, all my land, Chanja." You know Chanja? Do you know Chanja? That's what the land she gave me, 13 acres. That whole town was mine. I'm the one who sold all those. Then in Mutundwe. Then, I said, God is so good. Anybody who wants to inherit land? No. That one, I'm not talking about inheriting Chanja because that one I've sold all of it. Then another one also gave me 110 acres across Gaba. Gaba here. When you go to Gaba, there's a big chunk of land there across the lake. So I started getting, now that's how I understood this principle. So what I'm telling you, I've gone through it myself. That's how I got to understand this. I said, where is that all this land coming to me? Because there was a time when I was working from 6 to 11 p.m. I was not being paid, but I worked with a proper heart. I was faithful. I was committed. That time, I could not even sit down the whole day. And then all of a sudden, after that period, God said, now you've passed the test. Now land started to what? Everywhere I go, they give me land. Everywhere. Even now, if I start talking a lot, you start to feel something. So if you feel something like giving me land, don't harden your heart if you hear his voice. Okay. Sponsorship program for your children, scholarships, special favors, lenience for your school. They never chase your children. For you, we know you are truthful. They don't chase your children, even when you don't have school fees. Your family do not get sick often. How many of you know this is a great blessing? Your marriage and your family, you are happy. You walk with your what? Your husband. Come. You are always working hand in hand with your what? Your husband and your wife. Do you know this is rare these days? You know this is rare these days? Seeing a husband and wife walking. Have you ever seen people quarreling, holding hands? So that this is a great blessing. You are happy. you have peace of mind, you are satisfied, you are contented. Eh? That's how God blesses you. If you are giving your work spills over in your marriage, spills over in your health, spills over in your children. It spills over in all those areas of your life. Your work. Because you are doing it as unto the what? Unto the Lord.